Hi, I'm Rachel. Those of you who have watched some of my other videos would know this is the time that I usually cut back to my cat Leah, who's usually sitting behind me. And if you've watched my recent videos, you'd know that she's been sick for this past week. Roughly a week. I'm getting time confused. But I've come here to say that my cat passed on Tuesday, and it's Sunday now, and I just came back from my parents' house where we buried her in the backyard with my childhood cats. It's been a really difficult time. She was 10, which is not at all a spring chicken, but it's on the younger side of old. And this illness that came up upon her was very sudden. I took her to the vet twice. They looked at her high blood pressure and her kidneys through an x-ray, which looked not great. There was one that looked enlarged, and I was going to take her to a specialist for an ultrasound on Thursday, but she died beforehand, and I think it might have been better that way. She hated the vets. After she came home from the vet on Monday, she took a sharp turn for the worse. She had been rallying for a few days ever since my last Wednesday appointment with the vet, but then she took a turn for the worse and was very lethargic on Tuesday morning before I went to work. I gave her the medicine that the vet gave me for her appetite, and she gave me this scratch. It bled, which was unusual for her scratches. Now it's healing a lot faster than the rest of me. But I think she would have rather died at home rather than at the vet's or anywhere else. I don't have a car, so it's a big taxi ordeal usually to get her anywhere. And so, anyway, I'm dealing with a lot. I haven't been reading very much, and a lot of that has to do with guilt. One of the biggest things that hit me immediately was my fear of losing the memory of her, of living with her, of all of her idiosyncrasies. And I actually spent the last few days after her death making this. Well, I bought this, and inside I made a memory book for her. It has a lot of pictures. I start with a poem by Emily Bronte, and then I go into the journal entries, all of the journal entries where I wrote about her. And I'm just really fortunate. I mean, I had good taste, I guess, because I've been journaling very regularly for the past, I think, 2 decades, basically. And I keep it on Dreamwidth, the platform. I mean, it's completely private now. It wasn't always. In my younger years, I had a penchant for drama, it seems, but now it's very private. It's a completely private journal. But the nice thing about having it on a platform like Dreamwidth is that it's really easy to search for keywords. And so I went in and I found all of the entries where I talked significantly about Leah, and I included pictures, at least one per page. And so I really got a feel of our lives together, and that was very, very healing for me. And anyway, there's actually 28 pages of this, so at the end I have the eulogy that I wrote her Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever, and I buried her with a copy of the eulogy, which I did for my childhood cat too, and with her favorite toy, and so yeah, that's most of what I've been doing this past week. Well, in terms of writing BookTube, it's been difficult. I had a lot of stuff that I wanted to read. I didn't get to everything I wanted to read last month, and I have even more that I wanted to read this month, but I've had a lot of trouble focusing and a lot of guilt about reading too, about focusing my attention away from her memory and thinking of times in the past where she wanted attention and I wanted to read, and you know, all of this crazy grief stuff. The one thing I've been reading very slowly this week is this book, A Basket of Apples. It's short stories by Shirley Faisler. And she was a Canadian writer who wrote about the immigrant experience in the 1920s. I don't know much about Canada, although sort of the tenure of these stories is pretty applicable to any Jewish immigration story in most American cities. And these are 6 stories that were published, I believe, in the 60s, when Shirley was also already an older woman, but that's when she became famous as a writer, kind of a writer's writer. You know, she has a blurb from Alice Munro up there, and just recently her 6 stories about a particular set of characters were republished, and so far they're all narrated by the same woman, looking back on family members at various points in time. And the characters are memorable, and the stories move at a fast clip. Some good writing, but kind of nice that the stories kind of end relatively quickly too, and doesn't require too much thought in that way. But I do have a lot of other stuff I'm thinking about in terms of my reading, like I set a goal for myself about reading Jewish fiction published in 2016, and I had this ever-growing list for myself, and alas, the year is running out for that goal, and you know, insofar as these goals are worth. And I have the finals of my anticipated 2017 releases that I talked about in January and June that I want to get to, and last month I did, at the end of the month, finish my 3rd alternative history Jewish book, and I wanted to make a quick video reviewing the 3 books I read last month on that theme. Alternative history sounds pretty good about now. But I've been putting it all on hold because of this grief, and I assume I might not be around as much, I guess, on BookTube for a little while, just trying to get my bearings. And then there's my writing goals too. I just made my summer quarterly wrap-up fall quarter upcoming video recently, and I talked about my writing goals there, and already I think I want to change them. Part of that has to do with the nicest rejection letter I've gotten in a while. I've had my short story out on submission for a long time, and I've been getting rejection letter after rejection letter. Most of them are form letters, as they are for everyone. The thank you for submitting, not a good fit for us, good luck elsewhere. But this nicest one was very, very personal. It gave very specific advice about my particular story, and of course it had the caveat of, if you want to submit to us again, we'd welcome it. And so it made me think about short stories and how I don't have any other ones in the works right now, and that maybe with a little bit of elbow grease I can make something that's worth it in the short story market. I mean, I've already had a short story published, and in my other video I was talking about starting a whole new novella project with an outline and everything, and maybe, I don't know if I'm in the headspace for that now, and short stories might be the way to go. So yeah. So I'll probably be talking and updating about that, or whatever I decide to do for NaNoWriMo next month. In the meantime, and as a final thing, I just wanted to thank everyone who's watched my videos, because I decided to make Leah a big part of them, a big part of my shtick. And I even had her in some old Vidler videos that I moved over here from several years ago, the NaNoWriMo Vidler community. So maybe I'll link a couple of those below of her first appearances in video form. And I'm just so grateful that I have that record. I mean, I've even done it. I've muted myself and just watched her on the bed or what have you. And I want to thank you all for watching the videos, because I live alone. It's just me and Leah, and without these public videos, my family would have kind of known her, and I would have kind of known her, but it's nice to know that other people knew her or saw her and commented on her. Thank you all, everyone who's commented on seeing Leah. I'll be back, I'm sure. I'll want to get back into some reading and writing, even if, heaven forbid, time moves on. Those are the things that will enrich my life, and watching videos in this community and being part of the BookTube community has also enriched my life, so thank you. And insert uplifting quote here. I'll see you next time.